What's up everybody, and welcome to our YouTube channel. If you all have been following our channel or you know me, you know that I'm fluent in Spanish, that it was my major in college, that I studied abroad in the Dominican Republic, and my career is dedicated to serving the Latin American Spanish speaking community. I am currently in a relationship with a Latin American man. We've been together for about a year and a half at this point, and outside of that, most of my dating history and relationship history has been with Latin American men from their native countries. So I feel pretty capable of tackling this subject that we're going to be talking about today. If you're thinking about seriously dating a Latin American man, I think that there are 7 questions that you should ask yourself before jumping headfirst into a relationship. The first of which being, am I willing to learn more about his culture and his country? Now, I'm just speaking from the North American's perspective right now, but I know lots of people who say that they are interested in trying out other cultures or dating people of different races and ethnicities. And at the same time, North Americans don't necessarily do our homework before becoming part of a relationship with somebody from a background that's different than ours. I would even venture as far as saying we expect people to adapt to us. We kind of think of culture as this idea that somebody else has and that we don't necessarily have to partake in. If you're going to be in a long-term relationship with someone, your culture and their culture are going to start mixing in maybe subtle or big ways throughout the course of your daily life. Latinos tend to have a perspective of wanting to share their culture with other people, of inviting you in to be part of something. And you can imagine that if somebody is constantly extending an invitation and you're constantly refusing, it comes across as rude and disrespectful. Actually, it is rude and disrespectful. Question number 2, am I willing to learn Spanish? Now, this question's kind of up in the air depending on whether or not the prospective significant other or his family speak English, but if he doesn't speak English, you should learn Spanish. If he's learning English, you need to learn Spanish. If his family doesn't speak English, you need to learn Spanish. Because again, Latinos tend to be inclusive, and if they're feeling that there is perspective for a serious relationship with you, they're gonna want you to interact with their family members, and it's going to be very hard, very awkward, very uncomfortable to do that if you don't know at least a little bit of Spanish. There's a joke in Latin America, and I'm sure it exists in other countries as well, but I've only heard it in Spanish, and it goes, what do you call a person that speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. What do you call a person that speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. What do you call a person that speaks 1 language? American. And you don't want to be the butt of a joke, right? So even if you just start learning little words here and there, it's going to be helpful because when you meet the family, they will be pleasantly surprised. They will appreciate the effort. So will he. He'll think it's adorable as well. And you'll have the added bonus of either avoiding awkward or uncomfortable miscommunications, or just being able to connect with them on a level that shows them that you care enough to learn their language. Number 3, are you willing to have your personal space invaded? I remember when I was studying abroad in the Dominican Republic, I would find myself engaging in conversation with Dominicans and consistently moving backward while they were moving forward because I felt like it was too much and they felt like they were too far away. Different cultures have different ideas of what your personal space or what your bubble is, right? And in Latin American countries, people tend to have a much smaller personal space bubble. That's something that you would have to get comfortable with, people being in your space. You greet people, you say hi and bye with an air kiss on the cheek. If you are thinking about dating somebody from another culture, specifically Latin American culture, that is something that you probably want to get comfortable with because you're going to get lots of air kisses. Number 4, do pet names and does romantic talk bother me or make me uncomfortable? Spanish, in my opinion, is a much more expressive language. Let's take away the fact that people think it's romantic, right? I feel like it's just a lot more expressive, and there are things that are said in Spanish that can't necessarily be translated into English because of the emotion involved in them. And that carries into what are called piropos. Piropos are Spanish catcalls or flattering comments that are meant to get a woman's attention. A lot of people get really creative and really extra with the things that they say. Outside of that, just the natural way of speaking in Spanish, there's lots of expression of terms of endearment. For example, mi amor, right? Mi amor literally translates in English to my love. We don't go around calling people my love if we don't know them, if we don't really love them. And in Spanish, not so. It's just another way of expressing your endearment. When I first started learning Spanish, I felt the need to tell people when I started dating Latin Americans, listen, it is too soon for love. You don't love me. Don't call me my love because we're not there yet. You can do that when we get to the point that we actually love each other, okay? Which felt really weird for them as well. Learning more Spanish, becoming more exposed to Latin American culture, I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, this is just part of how a person might express themselves. I just can't go from 0 to 100 in my American brain and go, whoa, stranger danger, love bombing. It's not necessarily that. It's just being affectionate sometimes. Question number 5. How do I feel about sexism? I guarantee you there is value in examining your feelings about sexism and also asking your prospective Latin American partner how they feel about sexism as well. Latin American culture is really steeped in this idea of machismo. Men have a higher value or a higher importance than women. It dictates how women are treated, whether or not people think it's okay to put hands on a woman, how people view infidelity, how people view a woman's place within a home and outside of a home, what roles you're expected to take on as a woman. It's part of the reason why a lot of girls get pulled out of school really young before they have a chance to get a proper education. Why we have this stereotype of the Latin lover or Rico Suave, where he just jumps from woman to woman with no consequences. And it's also part of the reason why domestic violence has been so prevalent and is such a big problem in Latin America over years and years and years. It's really important for you to know whether or not the person that you are thinking about dating espouses or condones or even expects you to behave in certain ways that they deem ladylike. Now, this does not mean that every single Latin American man will agree with machismo or even think that they are what's called machista. It's stuff that you don't think is part of you until somebody brings it to the forefront of a discussion. And so I've found it really helpful to have conversations about machismo from the beginning. Question number 6. This is a question that we should all be asking ourselves whenever anyone wants to have an intimate relationship with us. What are his motives in dating me? Outside of the United States, people tend to view American women as a ticket to their new future, right? Or a way to get a green card, a way to get citizenship, a way to leave their life behind and start anew. It's not just applicable to Latin American men. It's not necessarily something that might come from your significant other either. This is something that Alex has dealt with and that I have experienced every time that my Latin American significant other has made our relationship public. People will immediately comment or say something like, congratulations, now get married and go and get your papers. There is a level of fetishizing sometimes as well, and that's not just in a sexual manner. There's also the idea of race purification in a lot of Latin American cultures, especially if somebody is Afro-Latino. The whiter, the lighter, the brighter, the fairer the person is that you're with, the more you will sometimes even get congratulated. You will be told, oh, well, your kids are going to be so beautiful. And the idea that the lighter your partner is, the better chance your kids have of becoming more beautiful because black is bad is really prevalent in a lot of areas. There are times where when my significant other has introduced me as an American, when people see my picture, they go, oh, she's black. Because in other countries, the idea of American is blonde, blue eyes, light skin, not me. I recognize that this is a heavy topic. We don't really have all of the time in this video to discuss it, but rest assured, Alex and I do have upcoming videos on this topic. Question number 7 ties into 6 a little bit. Will he defend me? Again, I think it's a question that we all should be asking ourselves if we're thinking about being in an intimate relationship with somebody, and even more so as a person of color dating outside of your race. People have made racist comments to me, or they've made offensive comments about the color of my skin or the fact that I'm not Latina or I'm not white. And I've had people brush it off like, well, that's how my family is. You're just going to have to deal with it. It's really upsetting to be in a relationship where you know the person that you are with doesn't think that racist comments are a big idea. You need to know that the person that you're with will stand up and say, it's not okay for you to talk about my partner that way. I love her, and if you can't respect her, or if you can't speak appropriately or kindly about her, there's nothing for us to say. That person will draw the line in the sand, that they will cut off those contacts as necessary and not make excuses for them. As a woman of color, I'm very aware of the fact that I am not the beauty standard in Latin America. Even in Afro-Latino countries, if you look at the news or you look at soap operas, you cannot find a whole lot of people that are Black Latinos or of Afro-Latino descent and do not change their appearance. When people see me, a lot of times I'm automatically not pretty, I'm automatically not good enough, or there's the comment of, at least she's American, so there's still some value to me. And it's unfortunate to have to admit that racism is part of the dating experience for anyone who is dating outside of their culture, their race, or their ethnicity for the most part. To have conversations with my prospective other, to ask them, how would you react if somebody called me this? Or how would you react if your family did not approve of me? Because a lot of times they don't think about those things. They're just like, well, I like you and I want to date you. They don't think about the fact that other people might not like me and might not want me dating their loved one. That conversation has been a really defining moment in helping me see if there's red flags ahead, or whether or not this person is somebody who will go to bat for me, who will defend me, who will stick up for me, and who will put people in their place when they talk about me in a way that is not acceptable. And y'all, those are the 7 questions. So thank you so much for hanging with me today. If you found this video helpful, please like it, subscribe, share it with other people that might find it useful. I wish you a wonderful day. And as we always say here, with God, all things are possible. See you next time.